Well, hi guys, Emma again. Welcome back to Spareroom. We've had a break this week for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the camera that I was using for video has finally died. It's been dropped too many times. I think it wasn't a particularly expensive camera, and it's probably not particularly good for it. So I haven't been filming much this week, so we're a bit behind, but I guess you'll all forgive me. A month or so back, or a few weeks back anyway, I finished this little engine. Some of you who are subscribers might have seen some videos. Go back and check it out if you haven't seen. But there's one thing missing on it, and it's a bit of a nuisance actually. You've got this little plug here, and you've got a safety valve. If I was building this again, here's a heads up for potential constructors, I would put another bush in this end for a couple of reasons. First being that it'll make it a lot easier to fill, and second being we could put a whistle in this end. But what we need is a funnel. So I've got a bit of brass sheet and I blued it up, and I thought we'll go and develop it out and cut him out and fold him up and solder him up, and we'll have a decent little funnel. So that's today's video. Stay tuned and let's get started. So I found a bit of paper, just cartridge paper, and I haven't got a compass or a compass set nowadays. I challenge you to go and find one in your workshop. And a lot of people just do this in CAD, and that's cool, but you've still got to transfer the details from the CAD drawing to the sheet. So I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. What we've done is found a circle, which was just a little aluminium casting that's been machined up. Drew around that. Now, we've marked the centre and we've drawn up here, and we've got somewhere near the sort of shape we want. It's not a very big funnel, but it's plenty big enough for this. This will work in any size. And we've drawn this line here, which gives us one critical dimension on the funnel. And we've marked this circle off in 6 parts. To get a bit more accurate, the more parts that you mark it out on, because there's a little bit of error on a circle, to find this circumference here and step it out, we really want 12 parts. To do that, I guess everyone knows how to do it with a pair of dividers, but here we go. If we mark there and draw between those 2 points, that'll give us a halfway mark. So then we can set the dividers up again. I'm guessing most people did this at school. I can't sort of vouch for the latter generation, but, and that gives us a pretty rough 12 points. So we need to set these up to this radius here. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And there's two ways we can make this opening in the bottom. We could cut it out. We could drill the piece of tin first. And probably the easiest way is just to mark that like that. And that's our pattern for the funnel. If we just trim that to size, that's what it looks like. Go ahead and just check that by folding it up. And that's what the funnel should look like. We make a spout for this out of a piece of brass, maybe a bit of brass hex with a little nut on it, or a thread or something, or we do something fancy there, or not quite. Or we could roll up another cone, which is going to be a lot more difficult to fit there, and make another piece. So I'm going to make him out of copper. I think I've got a piece there that'll do the job nicely, and cut that out with a pair of snips. So that's a nice round hole with a step bit. I've got a little pair of tin snips. Which are Benbow, I think. I picked these up at a swap meet. They're not very big. Just the thing for a job like this. This is about 0.3 mil copper, so it's pretty thin stuff. Make sure we leave a tab on this side here. If we just take it nice and steady and cut a nice circle around there. Be sure and leave a tab to solder it, because soldering two sharp edges together isn't going to be much fun. It wants a bit of overhang, and I'll just tin these nicely and clamp them together with a pair of vice grips and solder them. So this is the tab, and we'll be sure and leave a little bit. So there we've got our piece of copper cut out. Next job is to put a little bit of a fold in this. It doesn't want very much, just a sharp corner there, and I'm just going to do that in the vise. Line that up nicely and put a little bit of a kink in there. We're going to fold it this way with the mark out blue on the inside, so we'll just put a little bit of a kink this way. There we go. Next job is to start rolling him up. A little bit at a time. You could fold this round on, you scribe lines around here and fold it a bit if you want it, if you were worried about getting it neat. But if we keep our fold lines pretty much so that's brought them round there like that. Really all we were aiming for is a nice straight truncated piece on the bottom, or where it's chopped off. Even that's not particularly fussy at this time. And we want these ends to line up nice and neat, so when it sits flat, there's no gap here. These want to be nice and straight here. And the next thing will be to give this a wash up and clean all that blue off, and run a bit of solder in that groove. So when you've got that lined up nice, The shape doesn't matter much for a start. We'll true that up later. But you got it somewhere looking like a funnel, and the seam nicely lined up. Find some soft solder. This is lead free. It's silver bearing solid wire solder. I've got no idea what's in it, but apparently it doesn't have any lead in it. That's just Bunnings big block hardware solder, and some Baker's soldering fluid, which you should have anyway if you're doing much metal work. This is pretty noxious stuff. It's zinc chloride, which has killed spirits. It's hydrochloric acid with solder in it, basically. That's the stuff to get. And you want a little acid brush, which just like that. Give them a brush down the seam nicely. And I'm just soldering this up with MAP gas, propane, which is a nice soft flame. And it's not going to take very much heat at all. We run a bit of solder down there and get the brush. A bit of a gap in the top there. Wants to be a watertight joint. And we turn our gas off and we can quench that in some water. If we have a look, when we just run him under the tap, we've got a nice solid seam down there, which is really good. Ideally a piece of coned copper or brass or something to hold in a vise, and give that a tap just to get it nice and round will be next. With our fingers we can get the top of it pretty close. The trouble is with tapping it too many times is that it's going to swell up a bit, so it's going to expand and it's going to work harden again. So we get this nice and round. You see it's got a little bit of a bump there, and a good tap on a piece of brass and device just round the outside there. Bring that round nice and round, and that looks pretty good. Next job is to file these off nice and flat. If we've got a bit of, probably doesn't need to be real fine, but a bit of coarse sandpaper would be good. And we'll soon find the high spots. That's pretty sweet round there. Just take the burr off him. And probably give that a file up on top there. And all we got left to do is to start up the lathe and make a spout for this. So I found a bit of 8mm, I think, of 5/16 brass hex, which might just be the thing. What I've done is machined this down to 732 because I've got a 732 by 40 threads per inch tap and die set. So I've machined enough down there to put a bit of a thread on it. Find our little 732 button die, and we can nearly run a thread on there by hand without a die stock with that little fine thread. Haven't got a lot of threads on there, but that's plenty enough to hold a spout on it. We spot drill him and drill him through. That's probably deep enough. And last job is to put a bit of a relief behind that thread so it screws right up. Without disturbing this too much, what we're going to do, we're going to thread that to put that back in there and turn the other side of this. So what we need to do is drill this tapping drill and thread him, screw that back in there so that that's nice and central, and machine a flange on there to fit nicely in our funnel. We can solder that bit in, and then we can make a fitting to go on here with a tube. So that's the next job. So tapping drill for 732 model engineer thread, which is 40 TPI, is number 12. So I've got that screwed in there nicely. So the memory card filled up. I've put a shoulder on that fits the funnel nicely. Like so. And I just clean that up with a file. Or even a bit of emery paper. And that's the piece we've got. And we'll solder that in there. And this piece has got a thread in it already, so all we need to do is machine that down so that that just screws in there, and drill him through to fit a pipe in and part him off, and that's that part done too. So I've gone to the trouble of putting a bit of shape into there just to make it look nice. I think that's probably all it needs. And we've drilled it through number 30, which is a nice size for 1/8 tube. And we've got a funnel. Probably you could just make this a nice shape and be done with it and use that joint. I want a bit of pipe on this because filling the boiler is much easier if you can get something down into the water space rather than in the air bubble at the top, if you know what I mean. So back over at the bench, we need to solder that in there like that, using pretty much the same technique as before. And we'll clean up a piece of copper tube and put that just inside the end there. We might solder that as well. And trim him off on the end. And file a bit of an angle on him so that when it sits down in a tank or a tin, it doesn't block the end up. So, a bit of a clean up later. That's not too bad. It's a bit rough around the edges. Got a reasonable seam down there. It's got a thread in there. And it's got a spout. So that's a little copper funnel. Guess the next job is to give the engine a run and see if it works. It's pretty warm here. Inside here I reckon it's about 28. So probably total fire ban, but we'll get away with this one. And I'd say that's full. Well, that saves the paint a bit. A little improvement that would look good on this funnel is just a hook to hang it up by. If you've got a bit of brass wire and bent over, you could probably sweat it on quite comfortably there, and then you'd be able to find it next time. But good luck with that. You're on your own there. I need a workshop chair that doesn't squeak. That's pretty distracting and a pain in the... But anyway, we'll work on that. So there we go. Thanks for watching, guys. More soon. Apologise again for the transmission gap this week, but we're all back and running, and appreciate your comments and feedback, and thanks for watching.